On, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys this week. And welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace podcast. I'm Spence the Menace.
And I'm Ruckus, always causing a ruckus, even on Thanksgiving.
And while you are stuffing your faces with turkey, or in the late John Madden's case, turducken, we on this episode we will be breaking down the week 11 games, and predicting the Thanksgiving Day games, along with major rivalry games in college football. And we have a special color commentary where we talk about who joins our Thanksgiving Day tables. And kind of to start out, we'll get into the pregame warm-ups here. We kind of want to fly through things somewhat quickly. I really don't have anything major going on other than playing a lot of Pokemon.
Gotta catch 'em all, bro. Even if it's a new game, you gotta catch 'em all.
Oh, this one is fun.
I remember playing Pokemon X and Y. I had Y, I believe, and that one I played with my friend, and that was, or should I say, my best friend in high school, and we played the crap out of it during marching band season because we would just be next to each other on the bus, anyways. Um, Are you? Are we? Am I starting for the pregame warm-ups of what I've been
Well,
doing?
you can kind of. Well, I kind of wrapped up. I kind of went through mine rather quickly because it was just like I had nothing really of note.
All right. I finally beat Guardians of the Galaxy, the Square Enix video game that came out last year around November, December, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of repetition at the end of the day, but it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. If you're a Guardians of the Galaxy fan and you're looking to play a video game about it, go for it.
And it is not MCU Guardians. I can tell you that right now, just as a heads up. But it is very good.
yeah. Um, Other than that, the graphics look amazing, but the combat's decent. I think the story as a whole is pretty good. Groot and Rocket Raccoon and the others are pretty much voiced about the same, besides Star Lord. But other than that, it's pretty damn good. I like Rocket Raccoon the best compared to Groot. I thought I'd like Groot more, but Rocket Raccoon's my favorite character out of the bunch. And back into the Marvel things. Spider-Man Miles Morales just came out on PC. The PC port of the game that um, is a successor to the PS5 port, and I think is also on PS4 at the time as
Yeah,
well from
yeah.
a
It
year ago.
it it was one that went to both. It was one that went to both.
Yeah, and I've been playing a little bit of that. It's a lot of fun. There's some references from the movies Into the Spider Verse that are pretty cool. I so far have really only gone to the beginning few missions and am loving it. Also been as far as watching stuff, watching football, and way too much Leonard Kenny. I reference it at work a lot because of the pitter patter, let's get at her, and the that's a Texas size 10-4 reference. It's a
Oh,
good
and
show though. I like it for that. All right, Spennis, are we ready to start the lineup?
yep. Let's get into the tough sledding that we're gonna be getting into, and kind of let her fly. Kind of to start out going into the NFL. It's tough sledding for Melvin Gordon as 5 fumbles. And I think the last 5 games that he's had has involved the Broncos saying "see ya" as they have waived Melvin Gordon for 5 fumbles in 10 games.
You could say the Broncos bucked him off their shoulder.
I see where you went there. I just wasn't gonna go with the. And then while you said A-Rod and Manny Ramirez may be headliners for the Hall of Fame ballot next year, I don't think A-Rod or Man Ram are gonna get in.
Is Speaking of which, I saw a thing where Pete Rose sent an apology to the MLB, and I don't know if it was just a clickbait read from
If
like a
that
blog,
if
but
there's truth to that, I think Charlie Hustle's got to eventually find his way in. Yeah, it leaves a
Um,
black eye. It leaves a black eye, but everybody complains that it's like, oh, baseball's Hall of Fame is not prestigious because the all-time leader in getting hits is not in there.
yeah, according. Oh, this was a post from uh 2017 saying
Oh
that
yeah,
they upholded it. So most recently he was which is this was like 2015. He was
yeah, they were
denied
trying to position
reinstatement.
for reinstatement. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think they add that into the Hall of Fame ballot talk. So, anyways,
yeah.
moving on.
But the biggest thing that's really been going on throughout the weekend outside of football has been World Cup soccer is beginning Qatar, and the group stage is being played as we are now halfway through the first sets of group stages. Some notable things is the U.S. drew with Wales. England rolled in its first game in the first game that they had against Iran. But notably today, kind of almost not really breaking, but kind of news that has been out for a little bit. Argentina just got stunned by Saudi Arabia. And
What
I'm just looking at the end result of that, like, what?
what was the final score? I was not paying attention.
2-1. Two to
Oh,
one. Saudi Arabia came in with a game-winning goal, with a match winning score. I believe it looks like it was. Let's see what minute that goal came in. They actually held on to the lead in the 53rd. They scored two in the second half.
was Lionel Messi playing too?
Yep, he actually scored his first goal in the 10th minute of that match on a penalty kick.
Is it
Played
me?
all 90 minutes.
Is it me, or does he look like he's 40 or 45 years old, but in reality he's 35? He looks like
Mm,
an old dude. I think the beard shows. I bet you if he shaved it, he'd probably look like he was in his 20s.
I agree that the beard shows, but it's not like Messi has had an issue of playing with one.
And Ronaldo's only 2 years apart.
Ronaldo's 2 years older,
Right.
or at least Cristiano Ronaldo. Because the Ronaldo you're thinking of and the Ronaldo that I initially grew up with are two different Ronaldos. The Ronaldo I grew up with was Brazilian. This Ronaldo you're talking about is Portuguese.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about soccer, so that tells you how much I
Yeah,
pay attention.
and then we kind of had the fantasy football. Ruckus and I's records are inverse now, as I am, or still inversed, as I came in with a win.
And I
To go,
lost because I got very unlucky when it came to certain situations. Tony Pollard had 30 points on my opponent's team, and most of his players all had double digits, and I had one that didn't in Scary Terry. But it is what it is. Fantasy
King
football
Henry
is,
got me an incredible start.
yeah, fantasy football is a very mysterious uh, concept.
Yep. But now now that we've kind of gone through how our teams did on the fantasy side, let's get to the real football and go through the high heat. And Ruckus, your most impressive team this week is
AFC West opponent of the Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, just for the sheer fact that they make it look very difficult. And they've made it look difficult on the Thursday night game that we played earlier in the season, and Sunday night, whew, uh, they made it look tough, even without Joey Bosa, and they also lost the tight end that got the pick six on them in week 2, Gerald Everett, and then Mike Williams later left the game. But no one was
yet
there wasn't
again.
a there was both sides didn't have very good luck health wise as far as that. But we'll get into that later. Spennis, what was yours?
My initial thought was I was going to put the most impressive team being the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though they lost. And that was due to Pittsburgh putting up 30 on the board against a Bengals team and letting them go back and forth. However, I went with the team that kind of held on for nearly a lot longer and lost and lost it very late in the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts and how they were able to kind of keep the Eagles down. And of course, both of our most disappointing teams came from East Rutherford, New Jersey. Ruckus went with,
I went with the New York Football Giants.
and then I took the Jets. Because if the Jets were really wanting to cement control in the AFC East, you had to win that game.
Also, if the Giants wanted to win their game, they would have to do it against a team uh, that is definitely a little bit weaker than them. Giants have had some good luck as far as the momentum swing with certain teams that should have beat them, like the Packers, for example. They, on paper, you would think they'd probably have a better chance of winning versus the Giants come recent years, because the Giants have not been all that great, but they have a healthy Saquon Barkley, which makes a huge difference. But still, like, we've known the Giants to kind of suck these past couple of years, and they've done better, way better.
Well, and more so the Minnesota thing I think might have been an aberration. You almost could have went with them and them saying they could have played tougher against Dallas.
That's being a dead horse, bud.
But that's beating a dead horse, yep. I mean, for the Giants, yeah, if you would really wanted to have a better fight in that division, yeah, they should have won that game.
Yeah. All right.
But they just couldn't stop Jamal Williams.
Yeah, that's one of the heroes I had in my fantasy. I'm glad I kept him.
Yep. And then our most impressive player.
Man, me and other Chiefs fans aside, have talked a lot of smack about this rookie. And he has not shown a lot so far this season. That's how they spelled it, I think. It was Skye.
No, it's too wise.
Okay.
It's too
Anyways,
wise, not.
um, like I was saying, this rookie is. I pretty much already spoiled. We pretty much already announced it, but I'm just gonna say this anyways as a Chiefs fan. Sky Moore has just kind of seemed like a disappointment from the get go when we got him and put him in games. But that Sunday night game where he had a couple of big third down plays where we needed it the most, because you had Juju out and um, Kadarius Toney out and McCole Hardman out for the most part. He needed to
Mm.
step up, especially as a rookie that looked pretty bad being like a punt returner. This man learned and went through it and understood what Mahomes was doing. And most impressive player goes to Sky Moore.
Yeah. Um, 5 receptions, 63 yards, probably his biggest outing of the entire season so far. That, and I also looked and saw Isaiah Pacheco as I was watching the beginning of that game, and
Yeah.
you were definitely right.
Um.
Pacheco Pacheco is definitely a huge part of that offense now.
Yeah, and
But
Sky Moore, as far as the punting now, like special teams, that game that where he was, or on Sunday night, whenever he was the punt returner, he did not try to like be the hero or do something that he didn't need to do. He literally just let the ball go. Because past games he like fumbled it or muffed it, and then the team got possession back. And it takes a lot
just
of
that he would try for too
confidence.
much.
Right. It takes
He
a
would
lot
try
of
for more than what you should.
confidence.
But then my most impressive player, I went Pittsburgh. I didn't go for them in the most impressive team, so I took a player. And that player was Najee Harris. This dude cleared a guy for a touchdown. Hurdled him. And he had two on the day. And Najee had a great game against the Bengals. And now it's time for our Eastwood segment. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Wah, wah, wah. See, this is why you don't use NVIDIA Broadcast, because it works the first time.
It didn't even come through.
It
Like
came through on my
absolutely.
end.
Like
The
I'm sitting
audience,
there with dead air.
dude, it came through on my mic, and I saw it on OBS, and could the audience could vouch for me, and if they don't, I don't care. But even then, it happened. So, like the video and leave a comment if you heard it. If you didn't, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna do it again. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Haters gonna hate. Oh yeah,
Not
that's
just
why. I know why, because I'm still on Nvidia broadcast on Discord. Oh well. So Spence, are you ready for me to do my good?
go ahead.
See, this is why my name is Ruckus, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, um, my good for this week is the fact that Butker somehow, someway used voodoo magic to not miss a field goal or extra point attempt for the Kansas City Chiefs in the Sunday Night Football victory. Thank you, butt kicker.
And my good was special teams making big plays. Cordarrelle Patterson breaking the NFL kickoff return for touchdown record. And then the Patriots game was won on the special forces alone. The only touchdown of that game was a punt return. And then the bad. My bad was that some teams, notably the Jets, the Panthers, the Ravens looked incredibly sluggish.
Oh yeah.
Just offensive teams just looked like they were offensively sluggish and anemic. Philadelphia, normally known for exploding in the first half of games, they've had to win games off of the second half now. I think there were too many teams that were just offensively anemic.
I mean,
Or
Philadelphia is also known for putting Vaseline on the street poles.
and throwing snowballs at Santa Claus.
Gotta love Philly.
Oh, what was your bad this week?
Um, just the pure fact. Yes, I'm being a dead horse, but the Cowboys beat them anyways. The Vikings lost to the Cowboys was a surprise. I didn't even watch the game. I didn't even really pay attention to any of it. But on Sunday Night Football, when I was watching the game with some friends on Discord, um, one of my friends asked if the Vikings won today, and I looked at the NFL.com score for it, and I was like, oh no, oh God, why? Because the Vikings
Not
looked
so
pretty good.
much. It was not so much the Vikings losing to the Cowboys.
Are you sure about that? They lost 40-3. They scored
It was
three
how
total
bad.
points.
It wasn't the fact that the Vikings lost. It was the fact of how badly they lost.
40-3 is pretty bad.
No, but I was like, you could have said, yeah, the Vikings lost the Cowboys. Okay. It could have been a 27-24 game. But it's not so much the fact of the facts of the Vikings losing. It was to the extent of how badly they lost.
You could say the Cowboys sunk the ship.
When the hard part was that the Vikings were home, so I can't really throw any Scandinavian references in there to kind of soften the blow.
Don't worry about it.
Mm. But I think uglies for us both were on offense.
Yeah, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right, my ugly is just the sure health of the wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Juju being out with concussion, McCole Harmon being out on the injured reserve with an abdomen injury, and
Something on him later.
then the Raiders with Hunter Renfro and just one guy that they paid way too much for, and Devontae Adams being in there. He's not injured, but he's just one of their only receivers. And then the Los Angeles Chargers being down, like I said, with Mike Williams being down. They didn't have Gerald Everett, their tight end, and just in general, um, very beat up. What was your spend?
Ugly was just the offense of the Jets. When you have your coach comparing it to the fecal matter of a dog, and Garrett Wilson, one of the receivers on the team, flat out just ripping it, and then the fact that Zach Wilson may no longer start as a Jets quarterback because of this game.
Engine failure. That's
It,
what the offense was for the
it's a
Jets.
sense of this thing is ugly. All right, best game this week, Ruckus.
Chiefs and Chargers.
That's a Colts Eagles because of just simply how back and forth and how close that game was the whole way. And then the worst game,
I went with the ultimate game of chicken, the Broncos versus Raiders, because
I
both
thought the I
both
thought
offenses
Patriots
were
Jets was going to
terrible.
be that ultimate game of chicken.
Well, the Broncos Raiders game was the ultimate game because near the end they both like struggled horribly. The
Oh,
Raiders.
nobody wanted it.
That's why it's the game of chicken though, because it's like the one guy saying being nice to the other person by holding the door, and they're like, "You go first," and then the other guy's like, "Nah, you go first," and then it's just like that whole freaking game, and finally the Raiders just said F it, we're gonna throw it to Devontae Adams for the touchdown. I just thought it was pathetic on both sides.
I took Ravens Panthers as the worst game because it took forever to get going. It was 3-0 at halftime. It was 3-3 at the end of 3 quarters. And we're sitting here like, when is this game gonna actually? When are the Ravens actually gonna do something? It's like the Ravens were just laying there dead, and all of a sudden, fans are just poking at them, and it's like, do something. If you've seen that meme,
Believe I have.
yep. So that game was definitely a dud. I'm shocked that nobody picked Patriots Jets because of how bad both offenses were, but both defenses were doing their thing.
You gotta be able to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Huh. What's the bold take, Ruckus?
Alright, I can tell that you're annoyed with me. um, bold take for me this week is the NFL refs need to find some work somewhere else. Maybe go on Indeed or ZipRecruiter because these refs ain't it. And some of them had shit-eating grins while calling weird penalties on teams, especially my Kansas City Chiefs. There was one that was kind of irrelevant with Travis Kelsey in the beginning of the game, but also just in general, there were some no calls on our side. And yes, you could say, okay, Ruckus, um, you're you're away against the Chargers at SoFi, but they did the same damn thing at Arrowhead when there was uh, bad calls galore even then too. So don't tell me that argument without putting facts where they need to be. But that's my bold take.
Yeah.
Refs, please go on Indeed because you indeed need it.
Hmm. Mine is that the jury is still out on what the Raiders are going to do with Derek Carr for next season. Yes, they have extended it. His future technically would be secure. However, I think that there's some doubt. There's doubt that creeps in that even though they have all of this stuff, I feel like Derek Carr makes a whole bunch of bad mistakes.
Cars in the shop.
Yeah, and that car needs to go to another shop. I think a change of scenery is probably going to be the biggest benefit to Derek Carr.
I mean, we could say the same thing about Baker Mayfield before he went to the Panthers, but
No, just
Eh,
Baker Mayfield's just bad.
I mean, so
I
is
think
Derek
we've now.
Carr.
Derek Carr is better than Baker Mayfield.
Maybe you get a trade for one broken quarterback for
No,
another. I mean,
Derek Carr is better than Baker Mayfield.
has Derek Carr gone to the postseason?
Yes,
When?
he's done it before. Del Rio was the coach.
Okay, maybe I need to do some more research on that, but I just don't recall Derek Carr ever
Yeah,
getting far in the
and
postseason or even
actually,
being in it.
and actually, the Raiders made the playoffs last year.
Oh yeah, that is true. My bad, my bad. Before Raiders fans get at me,
So he's been to the playoffs at least twice.
because Baker was in it for like one game against the Chiefs, and
Yeah,
yeah, that didn't end well.
and Derek Carr has been in the playoffs in at least 2 seasons.
Yeah, true. All right.
And then I'm going to start with my burning question because we know yours is going to be fun for me. Um, my question here is: was the Jets' loss to the Patriots an aberration from the offense compared to the previous successes, or is this a sign of things to come as they have a tough stretch of games coming up? Now, to kind of go into the further detail on what those tougher games are. Not this Sunday with the Bears, but their tough stretch that they have coming up is that they have the Vikings and Bills back to back. But to close out the season, they also have to go to Seattle and Miami on the road. So 4 out of their final 7 games, all against tough opponents that are playoff contenders, are on the road.
Yeah.
Is
I
that is this a sign of foreshadowing?
I feel like it could be a sign of things to come possibly in the future, but I wouldn't go as far as to say, oh, they might fall off the wagon. I think the Jets do still have some momentum on the Bills as they beat them late in that game at MetLife, and yes, they're probably playing at Buffalo, right, for the second outing.
Yeah, every single one of those tough games against playoff contenders is on the road. So they play Minnesota at Minnesota, Buffalo at Buffalo, Seattle at Seattle, and Miami at Miami.
I personally think that the you you can't win them all, but at the same time, the Jets definitely need to figure out something with Zach Wilson. I don't think it's a smart move to like just outright cut him off because Joe Flacco isn't prime Joe Flacco anymore, and they seem to suck ass whenever Joe Flacco's on the field.
Yeah, but I think that basically what you want to kind of have here is that the Jets are right now kind of playing Skinner or playing some Leonard Skinner on the airplane, playing Sweet Home Alabama on the airplane, and of course, to quote Con Air, basically says define irony, bunch of bunch of idiots, dancing around to a song about on a plane from by a band who died in a plane crash.
That's my father's favorite movie, by the way, and it's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, yeah, it was the fine irony. A bunch of idiots dancing around on a plane to a song made famous by a band that died in a plane crash.
Also, shout out to Aaron Rodgers for dressing like that last season.
Trevor Poe. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I had to do that with the Jets because I mean this team is right now setting themselves up. Granted, it would be a winning season, but they're setting themselves up for a crash landing.
I think they'll be fine. They have a defense that does okay, and yes, like Sauce Gardner's a rookie and whatnot, but he's shown flashes, and they they proved themselves pretty well against the Bills the last time they fought up, so maybe they have a little momentum there. And like the Seattle thing, I feel like they're in a worse place as well, but we still have to see what happens in the future. I don't. I mean, in your way, it sounds like they might uh, go into a crash landing, or maybe just the whole plane just combusts and everyone on it goes away. But like, I personally think we need to see this thing through.
All right. But now, Ruckus, to your burning question.
All right, are Spenis's Washington Commanders good enough for a long playoff journey? I think they have a good shot with the talent they have. As long as Heineke is starting, I think
Which he
they
will
got it.
be.
Unless
Which he.
they wince back, which I hope to
Mm,
God they don't because
I think
he's not
I
it.
think Carson's time has came and once.
Yep.
But here's the fun part about the Commanders' schedule. It doesn't look extremely difficult, but it looks tough at the same time. We have to play well at home against Atlanta. We have to step up and do well against the Giants at MetLife.
And then Giants again.
And then we have a bye week
Right.
to prepare for the. So we have 2 weeks to regroup while the Giants don't.
And then you have the 49ers, Browns, and
49ers,
Cowboys.
Browns, and Cowboys.
I feel like the hardest one's going to be the Niners and the Cowboys. Maybe the Browns.
The Giants have been known to give us fits. Do I think we're good enough for a. I feel like we're not good enough for a long playoff run, but I think we're good enough for a good chase. Whether or not we get there, it's gonna come down to how well we play, and how well certain things step up. We're getting Chase Young back. Got to kind of see how he looks, but kind of fine to go from there. All right, so now we go to the film room where we're going to predict. Last week we both went 4-4. And Ruckus, the first game is a Big Ten rivalry, Ohio State and Michigan.
I'm going Michigan.
I'm taking the home team in this one, which will be Ohio State, and it's also the home of the script Ohio, where a sousaphone player dots the I. I'm taking Ohio State.
Or should you say the Ohio State?
I wasn't gonna be that guy.
I was just being that guy as a joke. I don't really care. I just think it's funny when people say the Ohio State. It's like okay, we get it. Cool. Good for you.
And then our next game we have is the Iron Bowl, Alabama Auburn.
I'm gonna pick Bama.
I took Alabama as well. The Civil War, Oregon versus Oregon State.
I'm going Oregon State.
I'm taking Quack. I'm going with the Quack Attack. Taking the Ducks.
Okay.
USC and Notre Dame, the battle for the Jewel Shillelagh. Will the Shillelagh be adding a red or a green jewel?
I think red as with the University of Southern California Trojans.
I believe that the Shillelagh will also be adding a red jewel as well, as I'm going with UFC or USC. Now we go to the 3 Thanksgiving Day games.
All right,
Lions and Bills.
I'm going Bills.
Taking the Bills as well. Cowboys, Giants.
Cowboys.
I think I have tradition of rooting against the Cowboys for Thanksgiving. I'm taking the G-men. Patriots, Vikings.
Vikings.
Yep, I also went with the Vikings. Falcons, Commanders.
Commanders.
Left hand up. Commanders. Bengals, Titans.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
I'm rolling. The Bengals even without Joe Mixon.
Uh,
And
they
Jamar
still
Chase.
they still
And
have
Jamar Chase.
T Higgins and a few others like Hayden Hurst and their recent acquainted rookie tight end. I think they're I think they're gonna do just fine.
Going with the Mack truck. Taking Derrick Henry. Let's go Titans. And then Cardinals Chargers.
I'm going Cardinals.
Is Kyler Murray going to be back?
I don't know if that would be the case, but maybe he's gonna be in a different war zone.
I'm taking the Bolts. I'm taking the Bolts on that one.
Might need to
And
charge his PS5 controller. Who knows?
all right, and now we go to the color commentary, which our segment today for that is who joins the table. And now we line up for the feast. Who are your two active players? Two active NFL players.
I gotta have Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelsey at the dinner table, man.
Man, you were definitely. I was definitely gonna. Travis Kelsey was definitely gonna be one of mine. But now since I can't have Travis Kelsey,
You could still have him. They
yeah,
don't have to be at the dinner table at the same time.
that's true. I would take Travis Kelsey, but my second one's tough. I probably would go. I'd probably go Terry McLaurin. I go Terry McLaurin, an active NBA player.
Man, this one's tough. Um, I'm gonna have to look up NBA players. Let's go with you first.
I probably would. It would probably be fun to hear a lot of the stories about the foreign culture in basketball, especially from prominence at such a young age. I probably would go Luka Doncic, honestly. Either Luka or probably having Chris Paul there.
Man, those sound like good ones.
I mean, there's options like Damian Lillard. There's obviously LeBron. There's KD. There's Stephen Curry. Well,
I
Stephen
would.
Curry would have been an option for
I
me.
really want to learn more about Kevin Durant, so I'd probably have to go Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Okay. All right. One active MLB pitcher and one active MLB position player.
Um, One current MLB pitcher that I want to pick the brain of is Mad Max Scherzer.
I was between Scherzer or Verlander, but
Because Mad Max is from Missouri, but I also just want to understand what the hell's going on with his eyes, and also just understand more from
oh,
him.
I think it's some genetic thing that he has eyes of two different colors.
Right, but I also just want to ask him other questions about his eyes, because I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. And then your position player?
Um,
Let me guess. Bobby.
that's what I'm thinking, but I really want to think much harder than that. I'd probably have Salvador Perez.
Yeah, I think for me, active MLB position player, it's probably going to be Mookie Betts. And then pitcher wise, I probably would go probably Verlander.
Also, you didn't do the Bobby impression, right? It's Bobby?
Bobby.
God damn it, Bobby, I tell you what.
All right, all-time NFL quarterback.
I'm gonna have to go with the Sheriff, Peyton Manning.
Man, that was exactly who I was going to take. I'm going to take Peyton. But then your all-time NFL player that is a non-quarterback.
Whew. Um, I'm gonna have to go with the human joystick, Dante Hall.
I got to make this thing fun. Give me Gronk. Give me Gronk.
Yeah, because if you can't have Kelsey, you had the second best.
Kelsey, yeah, get Gronk. Um, all-time NBA player.
Whew. I'm gonna go with Shaquille O'Neal because Shaq and the Fu, and and also the funny thing about that is I was talking about this with one of my coworkers, and he was like, yeah, you could bring over some shakaroni pizzas from Papa John's, and I was like, hell yeah, I would go for a shakaroni.
I would almost have, if I wasn't gonna get Shaq, I would have said Chuck. I would have said the Chuckster. But
I'm hungry, Chuck. That's just terrible. I'm hungry.
but I think all-time NBA definitely has got to be Shaq. um, the MLB pitcher and position player all time.
Um, Rest in peace, Roy Halladay.
I
I
think
would
for
do
me,
him.
for pitchers, I would probably do Greg Maddux.
That way you could get some maple syrup in there too, with Roy Halladay.
Uh, I went Greg Maddux
And then
for my
all-time MLB position player. Um, what would your position player be?
man. That's tough because I'd look either Pujols, Griffey. Pujols, Griffey were obviously going to be options, but I probably would say I would almost look at Tony Gwynn. God rest his soul.
Um, I'd probably go with Manny Ramirez.
Figure out how in the world he's able to make a huge play while high fiving a fan.
Budget Johnny Depp as as God damn it, Jack Sparrow. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh my! Two athletes that were not in a Big Four sport.
What would yours be? Because I'm shooting a blank right now.
Damn, I probably would go Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk. I would go. I'm almost looking action sports at this. Actually, no, not Tony Hawk. I'd probably go Jason Belmonte, which is on the pro bowling side, and then TJ Lavin, as I am a huge fan of the challenge. TJ Lavin is a BMX rider who is the host of the challenge. So TJ Lavin is one of my special picks. But I also would probably, if I were to also include pro wrestlers into that, I also would have looked at the Miz as well, just simply for that reason.
I would go, since we're talking pro wrestlers, I would go with Ric Flair as my first one.
Oh, John Cena would have been a good one too. Dang it!
Well, you wouldn't see him at the dinner table anyway, so why would it matter? It would be non-existent. Because you can't see him.
Or the Rock and the power would go out.
I could have also gone Stone Cold, but then alcoholism would have been a huge thing, and I don't want to mess at my dinner table unless it's food related.
That and a whole bunch of stunners.
Maybe Hulk Hogan. But he would just be like, he'd be like, "Oh, brother," at the dinner table.
Yeah.
So my first one would definitely be Ric Flair because whenever he sees the noodles or like the mashed taters, he could just go, "Woo!" And then I don't. I guess the second all-time athlete that's not a Big Four sport would have to be Shaun White.
That was another good one. I went Tony Hawk because he was a little more my era, but then female athlete.
Whew. The female athletes. Go for yours first.
Okay, Alia Watt, just so you can get JJ involved. Bring the plus one on JJ Watt.
I'm still.
I also would have said Julie Ertz, which would have been the +1 of Zach Ertz.
Let's see here. I'm kind of interested to see how Pat Summit did her coaching.
Well, that's going to be in coaches.
Okay,
You got
never
coaches
mind, never
coming
mind, never
up.
mind. Wasn't Pat Summit also an athlete though?
Oh, yeah, she probably was, but I think we would have known her more as a coach.
Uh, I think what I'm gonna say it's between Alex Morgan, Ronda Rousey, and Simone Biles, and maybe Serena Williams.
Yeah,
Um,
and there's a lot of great options.
uh, as far as talent, I'm gonna go Simone Biles.
All right, two coaches, any sport.
Well, it's gonna be a deal breaker for Andy Reid because he likes cheeseburgers. I don't know about Thanksgiving food, but screw it. We're gonna put in Andy Reid as one of the coaches. The second one would have to be uh, um, I'll think on
And
the
these
second one.
actually, and those actually would have been all time, so Summit would have counted.
I don't want. I veto on Summit. What are your two coaches? While I think of the second one.
First one, my first one right away because it would have been an all time. I would have said John Wooden. I would have said John Wooden, the coach for UC, the legendary coach of UCLA. Um, I would want to pick his brain a lot on that. And my second option, I would probably go the football route, and I would lean toward either Chuck Noll or Tony Dungy.
Um, Actually, now that I think about it, I'm gonna do Andy Reid as my first coach, and the second coach being the former head coach of the Kansas City Royals and Ned Yost.
Ned Yost. Yep. Okay. Um, two musicians,
All right, I'm
and this
going.
is where your fun kind of.
All right, so this is where I was headed with this at the beginning, but my first musician is Snoop Dogg, because everybody be having the munchies if you catch my drift. Um, and then my second musician uh, would probably be Tyler Robert Joseph of 21 Pilots, the singer.
Hmm. Now, from outside of my normal scenes, I would have, although I probably for this would have taken the entire band of Disciple. But for this, I'm going to go Chris Jericho, the front man of Fozzy, and also another one that also could qualify also as an athlete, not in a big four sport. But then my second one for musicians, I probably would go Logic.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
between for me. It was between Tyler Robert Joseph or Dan Reynolds. Dan Reynolds, the singer for Imagine Dragons.
ah, yeah. And then last but not least, one of your favorite ones here, comedian slash broadcasters. I
I
separated this.
go for it.
I put the two together just simply because we could probably do one of each, or if you were going to do both in the stand up comedy.
Um, I want to see what happens when you combine Ron White and Al Michaels in the same room. You just have Ron
No.
White smoking a blunt with Snoop Dogg, and then you have Al Michaels kind of just like giving his sarcastic approach to things like he does in Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime.
Mm.
Also, he's
Um.
pretty hilarious in Basketball. If you have not watched that, it is the
Yeah.
Trey Parker Matt Stone movie. Very awesome.
Yeah. I I would have said for my broadcaster, I definitely would have taken Stuart Scott. Um. But I think my second, but I think my second option, I think I'm also going to go with another broadcaster. I think I'm probably going to go with another broadcaster for this other one, and then it's probably going to be Dan Patrick.
Oh, I thought
Just
it
to
was
kind of,
I thought it was gonna be Tony Romo, because then
oh,
he
I
could
would
give
have
you
even.
he could have gotten you free Corona, man.
Um, I also, I also had on the consideration there Michael Wilbon. I had Wilbon in the considerations as well.
Chris
But now let's kind of
Berman.
wrap this up. Yeah, Chris Berman. Oh, Chris Berman would have been a good one too.
Any of those would have
Uh,
been better than Tony Romo, to be honest.
yeah. All right, let real quick here to kind of wrap it up. Studs and duds.
Want me to go first?
Gonna be kind of quick. Yours is gonna kind of be quick. Yours is gonna be quicker than mine. I know that.
Okay. Um, my stud this week is Jimmy G for the outstanding performance he had on Monday Night Football with 4 touchdowns and only 228 yards throwing. And then my honorable mention for that is Jamal Williams of the Detroit Lions at getting 16 carries, totaling 64 yards and 3 touchdowns. Um, do you want to go with your studs now, or want me to just
Yeah,
finish it off?
my studs to start out. I have Luka Doncic for getting his 50th triple double to become the second only to Oscar Robertson for being the fastest to that milestone. He also completed it one game faster than Magic Johnson. And then my honorable mention is how the Buffalo Bills and Detroit Lions Twitter social media handles handled Buffalo having to come to Ford Field for their Sunday game against the Browns due to 6 feet of snow. Snow taller than me.
I think there was like a social media post from Watkins, or not Watkins, one of the tackles. He had like a social media post where he like opened his garage door, and like half the garage door length was just snow.
No.
Like I was like, nope, no, thank you.
Yep. All right. And you're dud this week.
The Broncos' defense against the Raiders in overtime was a huge dud as Devontae Adams scores the game-winning catch. And as an added joke, I put in he also dodges the cameraman afterwards instead of just shoving him out and getting a lawsuit.
Okay, so my main dud this week is Chiefs receiver Mecole Hardman for
It's
breaking his TV while at home on IR during the game, and then to all of a sudden tweet out because for crying out loud, you probably would have the ESPN app or some type of streaming thing on your phone to all of a sudden tweet out, "Did we win?" Freaking dummy.
I mean, let's be honest here. Not everyone's the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not saying McCole Harmon's dumb or anything. I'm just saying maybe he doesn't know how to like stream the stuff, or maybe he didn't feel like doing it at that time because it was like a split second. You don't know when he actually broke the TV for starters.
Oh no, he had to have broken the TV when the Chargers took the lead.
Maybe he had to charge up his phone.
He threw his remote control on his TV. I mean, come on! I am not giving him a pass.
Also, that pun was just too good to give up.
Okay, but my honorable mention was John Ridgway. He ate up a 15-yard penalty for power bombing Texans running back Damian Pierce. And if
KO.
you, I mean, it was like I'm seeing. Oh, and and a few other defensive linemen are pitching in to actually pay most of his fine if he gets one. But the funny thing is that everything I'm seeing here is saying like either a body slam or a suplex. No, if you know your pro wrestling, what he did, he went up and he actually had Pierce to the air before having to abruptly bring him down. That is a power bomb. That is a power bomb in how he gripped him. And he had no stake in the game, but it was incredible to watch, but incredibly boneheaded at the same time. Shut us down, Ruckus.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the Ruckus and the Menace podcast. I am Ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
Thank you for watching on this Thanksgiving week. And yeah, we were a little bit early this week, but we figured we needed to spend time with our families as much as you guys do. And also, I am thankful for being able to do this podcast with Spennis.
And I'm thankful for this opportunity to be on this podcast as well. Thank you to my wonderful fiance and just family as well, and more importantly than all of them, my Savior Jesus Christ for being able to give me the abilities to be able to administrate and bring this podcast to you guys each and every week.
Amen. Yeah, and as far as the thankfulness just for this podcast alone, also thank you to my friends and family for getting me through some weird times in life, but also just in general, like um, getting through the pandemic and what have you, and also just being supportive. It's always good to have a support system, and also thank you guys for listening to the Ruckus and the Menace podcast. I am Ruckus.
I'm Ruckus the Menace.
See y'all later.
And pass the turducken, deuces.